Good morning, Dan and Amy. So we're just 72 hours from the debate, and we've got Bobby Knight on the stump. He's out making the case for Donald Trump. He appeared on MSNBC. Apparently, Bobby Knight doesn't know what MSNBC is. I don't know why he wastes his time, but he did, and he explained why he's back out there making the case for his buddy Donald.
You've got a great life. Why put yourself in the middle of this and endorse Donald Trump, at this time, during this campaign, such an aggressive time?
Well, I think the answer is pretty simple. I just like the United States, and I like being an American, and I would really like to have an opportunity to do something that I think would be good for America. And I happen to think Donald Trump would be good for America.
Yeah. She made it sound like he was backing some dictator or something, some sinister character. And how could you do this? He reminds me of Mike Ditka, Coach.
Yeah.
Coach Ditka. And remember Bobby Knight at the RNC? He was on the screen for about 3 seconds. I'm voting for Donald Trump.
It's possible Donald Trump will throw a chair during Monday night's debate. We don't know.
I think they did throw chairs in Florida, though.
So that's now another preview of what could come to pass from the assembled audience at Hofstra on Monday night. It was brought to us by Charlie Crist, the former governor of Florida, who continues to run for office. He ran for Senate, lost against Marco Rubio in 12. Now he's running. In 10.
Wasn't he a Democrat? Now he's a Republican.
Yeah,
now he's a Democrat again.
Republican, Democrat, Independent. Who can keep track?
But he's still tan.
He's running for Congress now. In a congressional candidate debate, he was asked, as was his opponent, if they're backing their party's nominee. Here's Charlie Crist's answer about Hillary.
You voting for your party's nominee, Governor?
I am proud of Hillary Clinton. I think she's been a very good Secretary of State, a very good senator from the state of New York. The thing I like most about her is I believe that she is steady. I believe that she is strong. I believe that she is honest. And I look forward to voting for her.
Governor. I believe she is honest is a laugh line.
I believe she's strong.
No.
But I know the laugh line is
honest. The laugh line in a mixed crowd in a congressional debate in a swing state. Whew. I think that speaks to the hurdle she has on Monday night. But for more on a review of and preview of the debate on Monday night, we're happy to be joined by David Freddoso, who is the commentary editor for the Washington Examiner, WashingtonExaminer.com. David, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me.
So the kind of trust issue, if that is a laugh line in the minds of 70% of the American public, as it seems to be, how can she address that issue in the context of a debate? Doesn't Donald Trump have an easier time addressing the temperament issue by being room temperature for the 90 minutes than Hillary Clinton does trying to convince people she's trustworthy?
Well, yeah, I don't know if she can address this temperament issue in a debate, but I definitely don't think she can address her honesty issue in a debate, because if she, it just doesn't work that way. You can't, trust me, I'm honest. That doesn't, you can't do that. That's something that's built up over time. She's failed that test. She just has to try to focus on other things. She has to focus on, the thing with Trump. He can't focus on his temperament. He has to try to focus on her honesty. She can't focus on her honesty. She has to try to get people focused on either actual issues or maybe something like his temperament.
I see them starting out being very respectful to each other, and then it's spiraling a little bit out of control. What do you envision?
Given the way that this campaign has gone so far, it's almost impossible to guess what it's going to be like. You can kind of imagine a debate where Trump walks in and ends up being way, way, way mellow and not himself. You can imagine a situation where he goes in and it's just, he's unstoppable and kind of over the top Trumpy. And then, it's anything in between. And as far as Hillary goes, she's not a horrible debater in terms of knowing and memorizing facts and being able to repeat stuff back. But she's not a great public speaker or anything. And if he figures out how to get the better of her in a debate, it could get kind of ugly. On the other hand, it could also look like he's bullying her. And we haven't really seen, I think we've seen Trump debates where it really did work for him, and Trump debates where it really didn't work for him. So
right.
If he see either one of those.
If he has an exchange like he had with Carly Fiorina, that's not going to be a positive development. But maybe one of the tacks he could take, I mean, just the idea of launching an asymmetrical attack is be Donald Trump, show up, as you say, be mellow, but also have gathered command of some of the specifics that have been included in his policy speeches over the last several weeks on energy, on rebuilding the military, on immigration, and just be, I mean, this is going to sound weird, but be boring, room temperature, policy wonk Donald.
Well, right. This is the challenge. Is there a way to get him to suddenly sound really knowledgeable about these issues? Part of it is just, it depends on what your opinion is of his intelligence and sort of your view of how he's held himself up over the last 5 or 6 months, right? He might well be just saying stuff that he's memorized in the last 15 minutes in his speeches. He's reading numbers off of the teleprompter. If he can actually sound like he understands those things in a whole debate, I'd be very impressed. And it's actually a lot more than I think he's capable of. But if he did that, it could really pay off for him. You can really see that. And then she's sort of left there gasping, what happened? I wasn't expecting this guy to show up. That's one possible scenario that I could imagine.
My understanding is that Donald Trump didn't prepare for the first debates during the primary, but he might not prepare too much for Hillary Clinton. What are you hearing?
That wouldn't surprise me either. I don't think that. I don't think preparing for debates is a very Trump-like thing to talk about doing.
But some of what's happened in the general, as compared to the primary, because he has a much larger, more experienced team of experts around him who have crafted a lot of the speeches he's given that I referenced before, is just by performance you remember certain facts and certain issues. I mean, I think so.
No teleprompter, no notes.
Yeah, I understand, but
you can't bring one of those.
No, but the quality of his content over the last 5 weeks matters, and it's been exponentially better than it was in the primary. And even the process of going through those speeches and delivering them, you retain some of that information. I mean, I don't think he's an unintelligent person. He may not have the greatest vocabulary in the world, but it would be remarkable to me if none of that is retained, what he has provided over the last several weeks.
Well, if you can remember the exact facts and figures and how they fit into a bigger picture of issues.
Yeah, that's right.
And when to bring them up and when it's appropriate to bring them up and when it makes sense to use it in counter to something Hillary Clinton says. The problem with that is when these facts and figures are something you only use when you're in a teleprompter situation, it doesn't necessarily suggest mastery. That's not to say that he might know them all. I have no idea. But it just doesn't strike me as the kind of thing Trump habitually does. I don't view him as someone who habitually thinks about things like this or wants to know more about things like this or studies things like this on his own. I kind of see it as something that he's been forced to do because he's running for president. Perhaps he's perfectly capable of it. It just doesn't seem to me like the kind of thing that I've ever seen Trump show he's interested in doing at all.
I mean, if it was me, I mean, I'd get your reaction to this and what question you would ask or the type of question you would ask, because if it's me in that debate, the whole kind of regurgitating facts and figures, making references to heads of state and that sort of thing, that to me is so much less interesting, and it's usually what punctuates these debates, than asking kind of philosophical questions that they have to think of on the spot or they have thought about, and so they are prepared with a thoughtful answer. I mean, it can be something that's relatively straightforward, but yet I think would be illustrative across a range of issues. For example, do you believe that the ends justify the means in terms of how you go through a protocol of thinking about policy choices? Do you believe that's true, or do you believe that's not true? And explain. I don't know if that's too abstract, but I think it would be more interesting and more of an insight into the candidates than some of the kind of gotcha questions that normally featured in these debates are. What's your take on it?
Well, I don't think those two ideas are mutually exclusive. Take the question you just asked. I think the most effective kind of answer you could give would be to say, well, no, I don't believe the ends justify the means. And let me give you an example of what happened when somebody did. And then to cite a story from memory about this that includes some kind of facts and figures about what they did and why it didn't work,
right,
or what they did and how it hurt people, that, 22,000 people went into bankruptcy because of what they did, and 18,000 of them were because of medical bankruptcy. Suddenly you sound like such an incredible authority in this answer. And authority is really what people are looking for in debates, right? They don't just want to hear you say the right thing that they agree with. They want to hear you speak with authority on issues that shows that you wouldn't be an embarrassment as president, shows that it's safe to elect you, safe to vote for you. Those are, I think, the kinds of things you're trying to show as a candidate in a debate, in addition to just a basic level of knowledge. And that would be, ideally that's what you demonstrate to people in a debate, is that you can do that stuff. If Donald Trump walks on the stage and suddenly starts saying things like that, which I really do not expect, by the way, but if he does, I'd be really afraid to be Hillary Clinton.
All right. He is David Freddoso, the commentary editor for the Washington Examiner, WashingtonExaminer.com. David, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.